Hi, I'm Jim Taylor, and I've been using Appreciative Inquiry in my consulting practice and offering workshops on it since 2002. I'd like to introduce you to Appreciative Inquiry and show how you can use it to build on strengths. But first, I'd like to give you 3 good reasons why you should care, as identified by Dr. Cooper Ryder, one of the co-founders of Appreciative Inquiry. Appreciative Inquiry can give your organization a strategic advantage in 3 ways. First, by fully engaging the creativity and talent of your existing employees. Empowered employees are happier employees and able to make their maximum contribution to your organization. By magnifying the speed at which you can execute positive innovations. AI builds positive momentum for change, so really significant change can occur much more quickly than with other change initiatives. And by creating an organizational culture that attracts the best and brightest talent to it and keeps it. And this is going to become increasingly important as the labor market gets tighter and tighter for highly skilled employees. There's lots of definitions of Appreciative Inquiry. Mine is that it's a positive, strength-based alternative to problem solving as a means of initiating and managing change in organizations. Historically, there's been 2 approaches to initiating and managing change. The problem-solving approach has been around forever, and it asks questions like, what are the problems here? And it focuses on problems, deficiencies, what's wrong, what's broken, what isn't working, and seeks to find fixes to these problems. This has been the traditional focus of management consultants. The appreciative approach has been around since 1987, when Dr. Cooper Ryder and his PhD supervisor first wrote about it. And it asks, what works well here? What is this organization like when it's at its best? And it focuses on peak experiences, best practices, and life-giving or life-enriching forces in organizations. AI is based on the ancient wisdom that whatever you focus your attention on grows. Therefore, Appreciative Inquiry seeks to discover the root causes of success rather than the root causes of failure. The term Appreciative Inquiry comes from 2 words, appreciate and inquiry. Appreciate has several meanings. I'd like to draw your attention to the 3rd one. To increase in value, like money in a good investment appreciates. And inquiry, which is to seek to understand through the asking of questions. So, Appreciative Inquiry is used to make some existing positive quality in the organization appreciate by systematically inquiring into where this quality already exists within the organization, even if it currently exists only in very small amounts. And there's a reference to Avon, Mexico here, which is the example that I use when I'm trying to explain Appreciative Inquiry quickly to someone who's never heard of it before. Appreciative Inquiry is used to get more of something. Often an organization will undertake an Appreciative Inquiry in response to a perceived problem, and as soon as the managers decide to try and do something about it, there's a choice to be made. Are you going to focus on the negative or the positive? The negative leads to a problem-solving approach, the positive leads to Appreciative Inquiry. So here's the Avon, Mexico example. Here's the presenting problem. Women feel devalued in this company. They complain about male co-workers' attitudes towards them, about workplace harassment, and limits on the jobs available to them. Now it's hard to find something positive to focus on there. This is pretty negative stuff. And an obvious approach is to ask questions like these. Who is harassing women and when are they doing it? What circumstances give rise to harassment? What kinds of harassment policies do we need? What is preventing women's advancement in the company and how can we reduce the barriers? That's a problem-solving approach. Avon, Mexico hired Appreciative Inquiry consultants and they ask questions like these. When have there been times that men and women have worked together in this company and the experience was very positive for both? What circumstances made these positive experiences possible? How can we recreate these conditions so that men and women have more best experiences working together? And this methodology was so effective that not only did they get rid of the harassment problem, in 1997, Avon, Mexico won a Catalyst Award for being one of the best companies in Mexico for women to work in. I like to use Avon, Mexico as an example of Appreciative Inquiry for several reasons. First, it shows that AI is not just a bunch of touchy-feely happy talk. It is an extremely potent methodology for bringing about substantive change. To turn an organization's culture around 180 degrees is an enormous accomplishment. Secondly, it shows the contrast between Appreciative Inquiry and problem solving. In my workshops, I ask the men in the group, Imagine yourself working for Avon Mexico and the boss comes and says, "Hey guys, the women are complaining about the way you guys are treating them. What are we going to do about that?" And I asked the men how they'd feel about a process that starts that way. Well, defensive, blamed, a little angry maybe. And it also creates the possibility that the men would say, "Hey, we don't have a problem here. We treat the women just the same way we treat each other. We don't have a problem, girls. Come on, you're the one with the problem." So problem solving can create enormous arguments about who owns the problem and who's responsible for it. Appreciative inquiry, on the other hand, asks people to bring their best forward. So I asked them to imagine instead the boss says to everybody, "We want all our employees to have the best possible work-life experience. Would you be willing to talk about the time that you had your best experiences working with the opposite sex?" It's a completely different process and it gets things off to a really positive beginning right from the start. And thirdly, the example shows how much further you can go with appreciative inquiry than with mere problem solving. I'd like to illustrate how this works. Life in organizations can be anywhere on the continuum from miserable and wretched to awesome and fantastic. Usually it hovers somewhere around the middle, around normal or acceptable. When things really go south and things become miserable and wretched, problem solving can only take you so far. It can take you back to the normal acceptable range, and then after that there's no incentive to go further because the problem has been solved. With appreciative inquiry, because of its methodology, you have the possibility of getting to awesome and fantastic, and that's a huge improvement. And I'd like to illustrate the methodology for just a moment. I used the 4D model developed by the Global Excellence in Management Initiative. The first D stands for discovery. You discover the best of what is in the organization. Secondly, you dream about what could be. I actually prefer imagine. You imagine what could be if the organization was at its best all the time. Then you design. You use design principles to create action strategies to bring the dream into existence. And finally, with destiny, you implement those design strategies to bring about the dream as much as possible. And ideally, it circles around on itself again and becomes a methodology of continuous improvement in organizations. And of course, everything revolves around positive topic choice. I have lots of examples on my website of spectacular results in the business world that have been accomplished with appreciative inquiry. I'd like to give you just one example here. Roadway Express was a Teamster organized trucking company that was experiencing competitive pressure from low-cost, non-unionized companies. They could have undertaken a cost-cutting initiative, but cost-cutting will only get you so far. Once you've cut costs to the bone, there's nowhere else to go. And appreciative inquiry is used to get more of something. What did they want more of? A greater sense of fiscal responsibility on the part of all their employees. And they got it. Employee-driven improvements translated into $17 million in additional revenue for a year and $7 million in annual profit. What do you want more of in your company or organization? Profits, productivity, employee loyalty, customer loyalty, effective teamwork, increased creativity and innovation, shared leadership, high morale and enthusiasm for the job, fiscal responsibility and accountability. Whatever you want more of, you can use appreciative inquiry to get it, and I'd like to help you. Change is inevitable. How will you manage it in your organization? Appreciative inquiry gives you a positive, visionary approach to change that energizes and empowers people and releases their potential. It promotes buy-in and reduces resistance to change. It strengthens relationships. It builds loyalty, morale, and commitment. And it creates happier, more productive organizational cultures. And given how much time we spend at work, who doesn't want to live in a happier organization? Thank you very much for your attention to this video. Please visit my website, www.roliat.ca, that's Taylor spelled backwards, .ca, and look at the resources that I have there. On the home page is information about my upcoming workshops. If you click on the AI tab, you will find lots more information about appreciative inquiry, including my workshop handouts and one that will let you get started on your own to experience the delicious energy that appreciative inquiry creates. I'd like to close with a quote from Jervis Bush, one of the main practitioners of Appreciative Inquiry and a management consultant and professor at Simon Fraser University. He says AI is based on a deceptively simple premise, that organizations grow in the direction of what they repeatedly ask questions about and focus their attention on. AI does not focus on changing people. Instead, it invites people to engage in building the kinds of organizations they want to live in. That's hard to resist. Thanks again.